Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the A24 project here on the Nerd Party Network. My name is Lee Hutchison and Dallas King and I make our way through the A24 filmography and along the way bring you interviews with the talent involved in front of and behind the camera. Our Aftersun interview series continues as we welcome Ethan Smith to discuss his role as Scott in Charlotte Wells' acclaimed debut film, and now Oscar nominated, as he shares his experiences shooting the film and his career so far. For those who haven't seen Aftersun, Sophie reflects on the shared joy and private melancholy of a holiday she took with her father 20 years earlier to Turkey, where they meet Ethan Scott as a young teen also on holiday who welcomes Sophie into their group. Check out our previous Aftersun interviews with Charlotte Wells, Paul Mescal, Frankie Corio, Sally Messham, Kayleigh Coleman and Harry Perdios in our back catalogue. And thanks so much to Ethan for joining me, and I hope you too will enjoy this episode. And good luck to Paul Mescal at Sunday's Academy Awards. It's time to begin. I'll count it in. 5, 6. So Ethan, what inspired you to kind of pursue a career in acting?
I mean, it's a funny one, really. I was always that kid in kind of high school that, like you get all those different groups, don't you? And I was that kid in high school in year 11 who would sit in the drama block, all of my breaks, all of my lunches. And it's somewhere where I felt like I was at home more than anything. I could be who I was, didn't care who was around. And it was just, I'm a different person. It's the best way I can describe it. I'm just a different person.
And how have you kind of turned that passion into like a career? What's been your journey since that kind of spark?
Oh wow! So obviously when I kind of knew what I wanted to do, which was like early high school, done the GCSEs, and then my drama teacher always told me, she was like, if you want it, go and do it. And then she gave me some tips, done that, and followed with those tips through. And then I was like, actually, this is what I want in a way that this is what I want for my career. And then went to college. And I think I'm an agent. So my agent, Mark German, he's been kind of my rock throughout all of it, his whole team, and been doing lessons with him. So he does like kind of his own private lessons. So we do privates over Zoom, and he's just kind of, he's taught me the techniques. He's taught me more about the industry. He's been here for so long, and now I've turned it into a career that I've got an agent at the back of it. I've got someone who's actively looking for work, and he's there also teaching me how to land every single role.
That's fascinating. And with obviously the drama aspect played a huge part, but like what were the kind of, I guess, art, film and performance that have inspired you?
Do you know what? The amount of films I've watched is unbelievable, but there's so many films that kind of resonate with me. I mean, the biggest one I think ever, and I could watch it over again. You probably wouldn't believe it's actually Dear John with Channing Tatum.
Yeah,
it's one of it that it's like, it's one of those performances where people are like, oh, it's one of those films, but the story behind it and the emotion behind it, and it's just like, I want to be him. Like, I want to be the person sat in that seat doing that performance in like for example the whole scenario, and then like another person like Gerald Butler, I love his work. It's so dynamic, and yeah, they inspire me how they all come from different backgrounds, and it's like no matter where you're from, no matter who you are, no matter nothing, it's kind of down to you to kind of make it happen, and kind of looking at the way they come into it. Yeah, it's so inspiring.
They're both such interesting actors as well, because I remember sort of thinking when I was younger, oh, like Channing Tatum, he's just this kind of like, just does this sort of silly kind of films, but he's really kind of cultivated quite a mix of films. Like, I remember just being very dismissive of like the Magic Mike film, and then you watch it and go, man, he's brilliant in it. And now I can't wait for this third one that's out in the next few weeks. And then even Jared Butler, like, I find myself, and I'm not just saying this as a Scotsman, I look forward to his films. Like, I cannot wait to watch that movie Plane. And someone made a good point about him the other day that even like these kind of sequels that he stars in, they're all original films and so on. He's not someone that's kind of gone out of his way to be attached to big franchises, IPs. He's kind of doing quite original work, and he's someone that's similar to that Jason Statham, developed a reputation where people are quite excited to see his films and what he's gonna do next, which is quite rare for that kind of genre of actor, I think.
I mean, yeah, no, like 100% agree. Is so unique. He's so unique. Like if you look at like a lot of his films, it's him. It's him playing the role, and he just takes it to a next level. I mean, Channing Tatum, for example, as you said, like going from Magic Mike to then going to Dear John, they're like polar opposites on the scale. So yeah, they are like just being so flexible, being able to portray something that's gonna make the audience feel a certain emotion. And I think sometimes, I mean, we almost do it. We almost sit there and like watch a film, and we're like, wow, this is like this hits home.
Yeah. We've obviously the Aftersun's attracted talent from all over the UK. What's like kind of the community like in your area for sort of like supporting actors and kind of opportunities?
I think the industry is known to be one of the hardest. I mean, I'm originally from Birmingham, but I live in Lowestoft, which is Suffolk. So going from two different places, like Birmingham, you've got all the big drama schools, you've got local groups, whereas where I'm from, you've got the local theatre groups. There's not much film, TV. They're two polar opposites again in terms of acting. So I mean, locally, you've also got your local theatres, local drama classes, but they're not as thorough as they are, for example, the ones I do with my agent. So kind of the support is different. The support is completely different, and the career paths are different as well locally. I don't think there's not enough there for film. There's not enough. I don't think there's enough funding there locally for film. But yeah,
does that mean sort of an actor like yourself will have to think, I'm going to have to move one day, whether that's kind of up north to places like London or other places to kind of, I guess, kind of take that next step? Is that sort of the position you kind of find yourself in that kind of neck of the woods?
I mean, it is 100%. I mean, when I was in college, for example, I was contemplating going to London, going up north, and it sometimes you sit there and you think this isn't going to go nowhere, just for the simple fact your surroundings. Like for example, London's like 2.5 hour train, and if I'm traveling there and back every single day, it's like, oh, why is anything locally? It definitely plays a part. Yeah, definitely plays a part.
So obviously you recently starred in Aftersun. How did that kind of role come around, and what were they looking for at those early stages?
Wow, this was 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years ago, 2 years in April. I actually remember the day to a T. I was told, so I was doing the virtual Thursdays with Mark German, and he made this big announcement. He was like, secret, there's this casting director coming in. I can't reveal their name yet. I was like, okay, fine. He's like, all you got to know is dress as the boy next door, but you're on holiday. I was like, okay, fine. Got into it. There was about 70 or so boys. And we've all been thrown together. It was all improvisation. There was no script. And they were like, okay, this is the scenario. This is what I want to see. And the cast director come on. We're like, oh, okay, wow. And it sunk in when I was actually one of the last two groups to go, and I was like, oh, come on. And the scenario came, and it ended just like a normal audition. Didn't hear nothing back. And then I heard, I got an email actually from my agent, and they were like, they want to see you again. And I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, really? We've done the process of kind of the recalls, and it came down to kind of the final two. And then my agent was like, this is what they're looking for. They are looking for someone who is kind of the boy next door, but also has a different side to them. They're chatty. They're quite confident in everything they do. I was like, oh, just sounds like me in a way that flirty. It all comes together, and we done kind of a virtual, because this was during COVID, obviously, and it was between me and Kayleigh, and me and Kayleigh done the screen test, and it just clicked. It's like the banter was there, the flirting was there, and it all came together. But the whole process, as you kind of call it, was intense. Yeah, it weren't just like, oh, here's a role. It was so intense.
Has that been kind of challenging or exciting for you as an actor? Where like kind of being such a young actor, have you ever had that experience of doing those in-person auditions, turning up to kind of a place when you were young, or was it sort of you began your journey and it's just like Zoom applications, sort of not Zoom applications, but Zoom interviews are the way to kind of get these things sort of started?
So I started when I was 16. So my first ever audition was for Cursed, for Netflix, and that was in person. And obviously, going from in person, I had that kind of period before COVID where it was like, okay, this is actually me and you and a camera. They see 30 seconds of you. That's it. And then we went to that transition, obviously self tapes. And when Aftersun came along, I was in that self tape period over Zoom. And to be honest, personally, I love the Zoom version because it's the real performance. And if you mess it up, you can redo it. Whereas in the room, you get one shot. And if you don't show your full potential in that one shot, the role goes to someone else. And I think I was very lucky to do it over Zoom and actually land the role all together.
And does it make it a more inclusive process to an extent where you're so used to, okay, if it's in a studio, it's going to be in central London, it's going to be 9 o'clock in the morning, and it might just be kind of the local people that can do it or the people that can be afforded to put up a night in a hotel. Does it kind of even up the kind of balance, I guess, that people from all over the UK potentially can be dialing into that call and the best person wins?
Oh, 100%. Like, self-tapes they make people like myself who are so far out in the sticks so much more easier, because you got to think most of us still work or studying, and to be able to pay for a train down there, take a day off work, we all do it. But on kind of the flip side of it, the self tape's the easiest option. It's more viable, and it means that we're not missing those auditions where you know in yourself that role is perfect, but if you physically can't make it, do you know what I mean? You can't kind of do both.
And so then you had a successful audition. When did you sort of find out you'd got the role?
When did I find? So I found out about the role in Aftersun. I believe it weren't short notice, but obviously the process was eliminating each by each. And I'd done the audition, and I remember this so clearly because I was out with my brother Ryan, and I was out with his with my nephew Hunter, and we had a day together in the summer. And then my agent called me. He was like, "Right, I need you to be on a Zoom meeting. You've got the last recall. They're like, this is amazing news. Can you get on for 5 o'clock?" And I didn't see the email till 4:30, and I was like an hour away. But I can't. I said, "Can you do it at 6?" I was like, "Please." I was like, "I will be there. I'll leave right now." And he was so subtle. He was so subtle. He was like, "Oh no, it's fine. I will just reschedule for tomorrow at 6 o'clock." And I was like, okay. I was like, oh, this don't look good on me. It actually turned out to be that he found out at the start of the week. He was just waiting to kind of tell me over Zoom. And then I went into the Zoom, and he was like, "Yeah, so the audition." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Don't know audition. You actually got the part." And I actually broke down. He recorded it, and I broke down. I was like, "Really?" Yeah, it was amazing.
So you find out you get the role. What's the turnaround from there to being in Turkey? I know we've spoken to a few people and it was like, it could just be like a couple of quick days. Did you have a bit of breathing room, or was it like, I've got to go down, pack my bag, get some shorts from Primark, fly abroad? How was it for you?
If I remember correctly, it was about a week or two. And it was all kind of a rush. I found out it was then, right, I need passports over, I need certain documents over. Here's the script. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I'd never been abroad. I'd never been abroad. This is my first time ever abroad, and it was to film Aftersun. And I was sat there, and I was speaking to like my mum and my brother, and I was like, oh, I'm actually going abroad for the first ever time to shoot a project, which is my dream. And I was like, it's a week and a half away. We had to go to the local shops, swim shorts, kind of we never really knew the weather. Like, I never really knew the weather of Turkey till I got there. And it was that last minute packing. I mean, we all last minute pack, for example, if we go down to like Haven or something like that. But going abroad was different, making sure you obviously got all the documents you needed. And then it was literally from the minute I finished packing, I had 2 days before I went. And then I didn't come home for a while.
That must have been a kind of a complete whirlwind and so on. And I always keep thinking like it was that sort of period of sort of COVID still being quite a thing and travel restrictions and so on. That must have been quite a surreal time for you.
It was. It was more surreal that we were traveling while it was a red zone. So it was a red zone, so everything was on high alert. And we actually have like a letter saying the reason why we were going out. And my first time flying, and I flew to Dalaman. So we went from Heathrow, I believe it was Heathrow to Istanbul, Istanbul to Dalaman, and done it all alone. And I was sat there, I was like, oh, okay. And at Dalaman, we were doing, no, at Istanbul, sorry, we were doing a connecting flight to Dalaman. And that's where I actually met the cast for the first time. So that's where I met like Kayleigh, I met Spike, Kieran, Harry, Ruby, and that was actually where they all, I actually remember it clearly. I stood there, I was absolutely shattered, traveling down to London, then flying out, and they were all walking up to me. I'm like, is this them?
Uh-huh. And what was that like? Was it like kind of awkward at first or quite exciting, or was it one of those ones you just feel each other out for a few minutes and then by the end of it you feel like very close friends, I guess?
It clicked. It literally clicked in about 2 minutes. Jokes were being popped on the whole way there. And in actual fact, we were all so tired. So I thought personally it'd be like, oh, it's a bit awkward. These kind of know each other all from one of their kind of acting groups they do in Nottingham. And I was like, okay, these all know each other. I don't know them. But the welcoming is unbelievable. And obviously we're all sat in the flight and we're all finding more about each other. Like we never spoke previously until that day.
Yeah. Brilliant. And you mentioned obviously you got to see the full script once you got cast. How did you kind of read that script for the first time? You someone that just like immediately kind of reading it on your phone on like a PDF, or do you someone that just like gets a comfortable seat, cold drink, right? Let's kind of see what the full story is. And what did you kind of think of the script?
So when I first got the script, it actually came up on my phone. I started flicking through it, but what I actually done is I actually printed it off. So printed it off. I sat there in bed. I actually put some candles on. Funny enough, I put some candles on the side of my bed. I just sat there reading it. I was flicking page by page, and more page by page. And the more you read into Aftersun in the script, there's so many layers of emotions. That Charlotte is the most amazing writer and director, and the words she uses and the stage directions that are in the script that are shown in the kind of the final product are so powerful. And when I was reading it, I was like, oh, okay. And then I came to my role. I was like, okay, now I need to do more digging. So it's developing kind of, you kind of get the basic information in terms of the script. Then it's kind of down to you to either understand it, ask questions, or interpret it kind of how you interpret your character.
And what's your way of acting in something like that? Are you someone that is going to pose the questions, or do you sort of start to go, okay, I know what's on the script here. This is what it's telling me. I've been cast. I'm going to bring this potential interpretation. What's your kind of process?
So my process varies depending on the script. Like for this one in particular, I had so many questions. So when I got the script and I was traveling down to London, I was still looking over it before I flew out, and I was like, this is how I want to play it. This is how I perceive it. Before talking to any of the other cast, I was like, this is how I picture my character. But then when you kind of see how other people interpret their characters, and then you find kind of the relationships, it changes. It changed for me. I was like, that isn't the way I'm going to play it now. I'm going to play it this way. And I actually consulted Charlotte. And I said to her, I said, how do you picture it? She told me, she was like, however, this role is for you. And she kind of, she made it very clear that interpret it the way I see it, because it's so much more natural. And that's exactly what I've done. I spoke to Kayleigh, who is obviously my on-screen partner, and kind of, it's hard to explain. We try to find the balance of why I'm doing a certain action, why I'm speaking a certain way, and what's the meaning behind kind of the kissing.
Obviously, we welcomed Kayleigh on before, and much like the character you were looking for, she's got a good chat. She's really nice. What was she like as a kind of scene partner? What was that kind of dynamic like between the two of you? Was there an element of kind of nerves and excitement that you're kind of playing off someone?
Yeah, I mean, on-screen partner, it was we had an intimacy coach because we both never done anything like it, and we were asking questions to everyone. Kind of we're asking questions to Charlotte, we're asking questions to Paul, and actually Paul helped a lot for both of us. So we sat down down near one of the foyers where we were waiting to go and kind of unset, and we asked him questions like, is there certain techniques you used? And then when we had kind of our one-on-one session with our intimacy coach, it was more just finding each other, matching each other's energy, finding boundaries. And once those boundaries were set, everything came naturally. Everything flowed. Because you'd imagine kissing on screen is easy. You'd think, oh, here you go, let me just give you a kiss. But it's not. There's so much more to it. And it was more finding each other's boundaries. I think it was the biggest point, because those boundaries is where you felt uncomfortable. So yeah, and we never crossed them. So I couldn't have asked for a better person.
So obviously Scott was like this kind of part of a group of very relatable characters, especially to anyone who ever went on that kind of 90s package holiday or had that summer romance. What was it kind of like to take on this role that is essentially quite a period piece at the same time?
Wow, it is the costumes is where I'd start. The costumes were it was weird to think that was normal, because now you wouldn't picture someone in 3/4 length shorts with a white vest, flip flops, slick back curtains. Yeah, it was interesting because I spoke to my kind of family, and they're like, this is normal. The music, the clothes, the genre, and they were like, this is our life. And there's a massive difference if you look at the 90s to kind of now, to kind of the eras and everything, like the party scenes, the scene, for example, where Paul and Frankie are watching the guys singing on stage. You wouldn't really see that now. And to be able to put myself in a situation like that was different, but also so surreal, because obviously as an actor, you're putting your mindset into it, and your whole mindset changes. And to go back in time, it was like I was living what my family were living. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
I always remember just watching it for the first time and being like, oh yeah, I forgot being like on a family package holiday to Spain, and like the Macarena being this thing. Like, it was so amazing to see people like dancing like that on stage and so on. And you kind of just think that, and then you think, God, what do the younger generation think that are now coming through watching a film like that going, God, is that really how they entertain themselves watching that for fun on a Saturday night?
Do you know what I found really? I actually found this really funny, that one of the scenes I was wearing a Manchester United top, and I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm
a Spurs fan, so yeah, I'm even more gutted.
And I had to wear this Manchester United top, and I'd never seen a top so old. It was originally from the 90s, and I was sat there. I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I can put that top on." And I actually spoke to him called Jay, who has a son on one of our acting with our agency. And I was speaking to him, and he was like, "That top, I've got a photo of it." And he sent me a photo of his exact outfit and wearing that top. And if I tell you now, the two photos put together look like me and him. And it was scary.
I mean, as a 90s kid, as I mentioned, I'm a Spurs fan, but I think everyone had that Man United top. I remember it being the one everyone was wearing it at like Saturday primary school football. I don't know. I even had that one, and just watching that was like, oh, Yeah, that's that as well. Were you did you ever tempted to kind of go, oh, come on, get me in a Liverpool top and so on? What's the difference? It's fine. Did you or was that maybe you maybe need more star power before you can start putting in those
I
demands?
mean, yeah, I think I definitely need some more. I need to make it first. I need to get more up there before I can start making demands. But it was all part of the giggles. It creates a relationship, don't you? It creates that relationship between you and the costume director, and that is so key. I didn't realize how key that is. But yeah, it was definitely a memorable time. And it will definitely never happen again.
No, I'm sure that'll come back to haunt you one day, or like there'll be a big 30th birthday and it'll be blown up on a huge canvas. I
Being
can
me
see
and the Man
that.
United top.
Exactly. I mean, I've watched this film kind of several times now, and I almost imagine like the concurrent kind of story with like these young folk going on in the background at this resort. How do you kind of imagine Scott's story and experiencing kind of unfolding as we sort of predominantly follow Callum and Sophie?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Scott. The way I kind of perceive Scott, obviously myself, Kieran, and kind of Spike, we are there, but there's actually a story behind it. For example, like me and Ruby, we're brother and sister. So when you're seeing us doing the Macarena, there's more of an emotion there. So for me, when I was playing Scott, I imagined it in terms of we were all on holiday together, and when we were on holiday, obviously we bumped into Paul and Frankie, uh, and then as it all comes together, our stories are more than you probably think and imagine. So, for example, so mine, I pictured it that I was on holiday, found holiday romance, and everyone else was like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" Um, and I was kind of the Jack the lad. I was the one that was, yes, I like her. I'll go for her. And it was known. For example, it weren't hidden. It was in front of all their faces while they're playing pool, pool, sat by the bar kissing. And for me, I was one of those people that imagined it when lads go on holiday, everyone separates. And you can still see them, but in actual fact, you're doing your own thing. And there's me with Kayleigh doing my own thing, cracking on, and they spot it. So yeah, there's so many different layers of meanings to every single character in the script, which is why it's such a beautiful performance, and it's turned out as amazing as it is.
So what was it like to learn the Macarena and perform that one then, Ethan? Or are you like a TikTok generation? You're used to kind of getting dances on. How did you do that? Did they have someone to kind of help you do it, or was it like go off, do some YouTube research? Like, did you even kind of what was it like to even imagine that as like an insane craze that it was?
Do you know what? All I'm going to say is if you don't know the Macarena and if you do not get up on your seat whenever it's on and start doing it, then we need to sort something out ASAP for you.
Muscle memory is still there to an extent. I can just, oh, you keep
It
hear the
is.
song, you
You
go
sit
like, oh
there
my God,
starting
it's moving up to my hand and to my waist. Like, then I'm turning. I'm going to a wedding on Friday, and I bet if like a song like that got played, it would automatically just trigger into my body.
you get straight up, don't you? I mean, when the song came on, and obviously you do a few takes, and I was sat there, I was like, oh, I'm getting into this now. I was like, okay. I was like, shall we get up? And then when cut was called, I called over Charlotte and I asked her. I was like, can we? I was like, can we? Get moving. She said, make make it yours. So obviously you see me get beyond Ruby doing the Macarena while our parents are there, and it is the funniest memory I'll ever have. Is I just remember standing up and trying to get Ruby to do it, and she was so embarrassed.
And that adds to it as well, isn't it? Because you can imagine being that young kind of Jack the lad, and oh come on, like this, she's clearly feels like she's kind of a little bit older in the film. She's probably very kind of aware of herself in that way young women are. And I think that adds to it as well, and it really comes through on the screen, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does. When Ruby sat there with the face that she had, like awkwardly smiling, not knowing what to do with herself, and then there's me, kind of, let's go, let's have it, let's get up, start partying, let's start dancing.
And like music plays a key role in some of your key scenes, like the Macarena, but then you have like drinking in LA, for example, and like your kissing scene. What was your kind of take on the kind of soundtrack for After Sun? It's one that I think's really beautiful and quite memorable in that you have some of these pop hits, but they're kind of laced with so much kind of tragedy and sadness that you often only just pick up on those repeat listens, for example.
I mean, the music that was the music that was put in was so intellectually smart that it's every song. Again, there's always something with the film, which is why it's so amazing. Every single song or every single piece of music that is clipped in Aftersun, it's not just put there for a reason. It's not just put there to fill a gap. It's there to show something. Um, so like in any kind of tragedy scenes, it makes it feel more real because we all listen to music. We all listen to music. We all kind of listen to music for a certain reason, and there's some music that kind of hits people differently. And you've got the Macarena, like you say, it's a joyful scene, and then obviously you go more down, and the music changes very, very, very quickly. So for me, the choices that were made were perfect. They were on the dot. The music genre that was there, the artists they chose, and the songs, they were to the T on the point.
Mm-hmm. And were those in the script, or are they like kind of whispered in your ear, like, oh, for this kissing scene, we've got drinking in LA, or is it in the script, or is it just something that surprises you when you get to see it kind of opening night?
So for me, it was a surprise. Personally, it was for me as a surprise. As obviously songs can change because films change, scenes get cut. So I guess when the final product was made, and let's say they picked a certain song, it didn't fit, they change it. So for me, it was my first time realizing the music that they chose was when they shown it.
What were your kind of memories of shooting Aftersun in Turkey? How did you sort of like to unwind after kind of a day of shooting and working and kind of that bond that you probably developed with the kind of cast as well?
The bond was, I mean, if we put it kind of now, we're all still in contact. We all still talk. We all still hype each other up. The other actors who are in it are going on to other projects now. We're watching them, posting them, bigging them up, and that is what Aftersun created. No one else could create that. That's something that I'll always take away from it. Is the bond they created, and the way it was all made was after we'd done kind of a shoot, we'd always be together. You would never find us separated. We was always down by one of the bars, playing pool, sitting around, and then just going out for days as well, going up for hikes, walking around kind of the local town together, and you find more about each other. We were over there for a while, and when you're not really in contact with your family because you're working, kind of, I think it's like 2 hour time difference. It's not a lot, but when it's so full on, those people you're around were like your family. For example, I came really close with Kieran. We were next to each other. My room was here and his was here. And every single morning we'd wake up, open our door, and our balcony looked over the swimming pool, over the resort. And those like our little chats, our late night chats we had together are something that I'll always take away, and I'll always cherish what Aftersun gave me.
Yeah. And was it similar to kind of like, you know, a real life holiday when it's like you're flying back to London, you're all saying goodbye at the airports? Did that kind of have that similar vibe of like, wow, what a special summer we had, and a bit of a tinge of sadness at kind of heading home, I guess?
It was so emotional. Like when we left, it was we've been together for a certain period of time, and we created a bond that you never thought could be imaginable. And then that bond is then taken. I go back home. Kieran goes back home. The rest of the cast go back home. And I remember the day, kind of when it was time to leave and kind of said our goodbyes. It was emotional. It was definitely emotional. It was a time that I didn't really think I would connect with, in terms of, I thought, okay, before I went out, we'll get on, I'll come back, be normal life. If it weren't, you learn so much about people that they actually become your best friends. They become like family. Yeah, it was so emotional going home.
And you've spoken about like kind of Charlotte as a director and with you and her kind of how open she was to kind of your input. What is she kind of like as a director? What would be like a kind of typical scene being shot with her like?
Typical scene with Charlotte. Wow. Charlotte she's got a unique eye. Her eye and her imagination is unique. She's very soft in her voice. And she has a certain way to portray certain scenes. And she had a cameraman who she'd worked very close with, him and Charlotte. And the way she worked, the best way I could describe it is she had an image, and her way of portraying it is talking through the scene. So every single scene, for example, we've done, she would explain it in more depth and the reason behind it if we didn't understand it. And she gave that freedom. She loved giving us the freedom to interpret the scenes, as I said at the start, in kind of the way we want. And her as a director, she wouldn't give up until she got that kind of end product, which she knew she could receive from us as actors. And she was like our biggest hype man. She is the most amazing person, most down to earth person I don't think you'll ever meet anyone like Charlotte.
That's amazing.
She's so unique.
And you obviously got to work with another unique talent in Frankie Corio. What was your kind of experience of working like with her? Like we've heard so many great stories about working alongside her. What was your experience?
Frankie's a legend.
Yeah, everyone uses that word legend. I think that definitely sounds fair.
Frankie is, excuse me, she's got such potential in just who she is. She's the best way to describe Frankie is she is the most excitable, funny. She's always going. And when we met Frankie, she was obviously we never really met, and it was quite quiet to begin with. And then those barriers came down, and we saw the real Frankie who sang to Olivia Rodrigo driving license while we were all getting our hairs done or our makeup done, and we were all sat there, and she sat there singing for all of us. To be honest with you, it was never like she was younger than us. She was always part of it. She was always with us. No matter kind of what we'd done, she was there. And looking back on it, I think personally, I forgot sometimes how old she actually was. Because she's so grown up. So professional. Once kind of that cameras go action, she's a different person, and she's got some unbelievable talent, and I'm so excited to watch her journey. Like, yeah,
definitely. It looks from like the outside like that Paul really kind of took a lot of that younger cast sort of under his wing, like as you mentioned, being really supportive, sharing experiences and trade. What was he kind of like as probably the most experienced kind of cast member to work alongside?
Paul is I love Paul. I love, just for example, when I heard his voice, I was like, love it. It's so smoothing and calming. And for a lot of people who were there, it was kind of their first jobs. And it was my first ever big role in kind of such a big film, which it is now. And obviously Paul done Normal People previously. And he was open. He was always happy to talk to you about anything. It weren't just always work related. It was sometimes personal. It was just a normal conversation. It weren't like that awkward conversation sometimes where you find and it's like, oh, Paul is this humongous actor. Can I talk to him? It weren't. It was there was no barrier there. He made it very, very open to all of us that if we ever needed help or something that we didn't understand, any questions, how he got to where he is now. He didn't get to where he is now about how hard he works. If you see how hard he works behind the scenes that he'd done in the script and his preparation, then you'll realize how amazing he is and why he's so amazing. I mean, I remember the one time we were sat there again in this little foyer before we go on set, and we were all sat there, and Paul was sat on the right, and Harry was sat on the left, and we were sat there. It was like 21 questions. We're firing, bang, 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 and he answered every single one. Every single one he answered, and he always said, "If you want something, then go and get it." And he said, "Put the hard work in. It is achievable."
And that seems to be a recurring trend of advice that you're getting. It's like going out, taking kind of, putting the effort in and kind of getting those things. That trend must be really inspiring to you to be, whether it's your coach or, fellow co-stars, that you're getting those similar messages.
It is. I mean, look at how far Paul has came from kind of acting in younger years to then drama school to then hitting big screens at normal people. Hearing it from someone who's experienced it hits differently, I think. And I think when someone's put so much work in, you can tell he takes so much pride in what he does, and so he should, because he is one of the most amazing actors that I've seen, and the kind of techniques he brings to a table is unbelievable.
And I suppose we kind of say of 6 hours ago, the Academy Award nominated performance as well.
He is. He's officially been nominated as a Best Lead Actor at the Oscars.
Did you think it would happen? Myself and the guy I do this podcast with, we were like, I think it could happen. We were crossing our fingers, but you could never tell until it happened today. Did you always kind of believe it would kind of translate these kind of independent awards, etc., would lead to an Oscar nomination?
Oh, what 100%. I mean, the first time I saw the film and seeing the audience and how it reacted and how it kind of blew up, because it was such secretive, and then it blew up out of nowhere, and every single person who watches it has something good to say. And again, Paul, he makes me speechless with his acting in Aftersun. He makes me speechless. The scene where he's sat on the bed and he's so emotional and you can hear the pain. He deserves that Oscar so much.
I know it's such a stacked field as well. I'm going to be rooting for him on that night and so on. It'll be interesting. It seems like so much Irish representation as well in the award categories as well. I'm sure that it'll be doing the nation proud.
It is. I mean, he does everyone proud. He's done us all proud. I mean, all of us kind of in Aftersun, we've all got a group chat today. We've all been screenshotting it and sending it to each other, and we're all so excited to see him win it.
Uh-huh. Were you watching it kind of live unfold on like YouTube or the news? How did you kind of get the news today?
So I actually got the news from Twitter. So I was actually working. So I was doing some work from home, and I got a Twitter post and I saw it, and I was like, oh, hold up. And then I saw Frankie's mom post it. So then I was like, oh, okay. And then I kind of showed it across kind of to my partner, to kind of my family, and it was like, this is real.
Yeah, you can add that yourself. Oh, I've starred in an Oscar-nominated film. Just no big deal.
It was so. It's funny because me and my partner and her family went and watched it, and we were sat there, and obviously my partner's well into it, and we were sat down, and at the end, everyone was sat waiting for the credits. Everyone was waiting, and she sits there and she's like, this person here, this film's been nominated for an Oscar. This person here, he sat there, and it was just, it's unbelievable.
You mentioned, obviously, the film kind of blew up. I mean, it's just shy of a year since it kind of debuted at Cannes, and then the ball started rolling. It got bought up by Mubi and A24. What was that kind of like to watch unfold at home? Was it one of these films you made and hoped, I hope it gets seen, it gets out into the world, and to start to see it start to begin its journey about 10 months ago?
Yeah, it was surreal. It was something that I didn't really expect, I think is the best way I could pull it. I weren't sat here thinking it would be as huge as it is. Obviously seeing it unfold when I was there, I was like, this will be an amazing film and then watching that final product is the reason why it is and why it's been picked up by two amazing distributors. Like, it is, the film sells itself with everyone who's in it, the acting in it, and kind of everything from in and between. Sitting at home, and I was watching. I remember the first ever time it was shown at Cannes, and there's the video of Paul and Frankie, I believe it was. They were sat there, and everyone stood up, clapping. I was like, "Wow, okay." I was like, "This is going to be huge," and it was slowly getting picked up by kind of the local newses and stuff like that. And then obviously once it went to BFI, it was then again huge. It was getting bigger by each kind of festival, each show, and it was growing and it was growing and it was growing, and now it's to a point where it's like it's everywhere.
When did you get to see it for the first time, and what was that experience like?
My first ever time was in London when it was at the BFI Film Festival, and we obviously we all sat down, and I remember I was sat next to Frankie, and Frankie had watched it already, and just seeing her face watching it again, it was amazing. And I remember sitting in my seat, and I kind of sunk into it. I was like, okay, don't really know what to prepare myself for here. And as it went on, I really needed the toilet. Like 3/4 of the way through, I really needed the toilet, but I just didn't go. I couldn't go. So the film captures you. You don't want to miss a tiny little part. And as the story gets on and it comes kind of near the end, it was so emotional that I was sat there and I was bawling. I was bawling in tears. And it was a proper proud moment, I'd say. It was probably one of the proudest moments I've ever had, is sitting there and seeing something come to life with an audience and the people who were there watching it as well.
Yeah. And what are some of your kind of favorite moments in the film? Is it there bits that resonate with you differently having been there, or do you find yourself being an audience member going, "Oh, I love the ending," or "I love this other scene"? What's kind of the highlights for you?
The funniest memory, and I can't, like, once I hear the word lonely, I can't unsee it, because the guy that's singing it, it was one of those times where we all sat in the balcony and we all heard it, and it was just one of the funniest times that we all had together, and we all sit there and we all interpret it and kind of reenact it. It was the funniest. Honestly, it had stitches. It was that funny. So that was one of the funniest scenes. And then obviously being there, the scene that connects the most, to be honest, is probably when we're all in the pool. The scene where we're all in the pool was, it was obviously at this point we all became like a family, and it was as if we were generally having fun. We were. That's what we were doing. Like, for example, when I get put under again, it was there because that was all natural, and that is one of my favourite scenes, because we're all in there having fun. So, for example, splashing each other. Then once the scene kind of cut, Frankie jumps in, and it's surreal. It's so hard to kind of describe it, because when you're there and you picture it, nothing comes close to it. Nothing has ever come close to that.
And it's one of those things, it's such a great coming of age moment to experience, isn't it? Like, so many great films feature those young kids just splashing in water, underwater. It's almost like I've ticked that box of that kind of scene in my career. I've got that screenshot that I can use as well.
It's tick that one, on to the next.
The film's obviously been racking up awards and success. What's it like to be kind of part of that kind of journey and to be going to film festivals and award dues and stuff? How's that been for you as a kind of young actor to be experiencing that?
It drives me. It gives me hunger. That's what it gives me. It's going to these festivals are something that obviously come with the work, but it brings me great pride to be doing it with Aftersun, knowing the meaning behind the story and kind of where it's originated from and the people we do it with. every single festival I've kind of been to that have kind of toured with the film, they've all been the most amazing experience. Every single one are memories that I'll keep forever. And it gives me, every single time I've been, it gives me that hunger when I come home, like, yes, right, let's get it. Let's do it. Let's get the next job now. Let's make sure we're pushing it forward, because that's what the cast are. They are your biggest supporters.
How do you kind of look back on your experience on Aftersun? It was obviously a week and a half, but there's so much that's gone into it since. And then how do you kind of look back on that experience this past nearly 2 years?
It's changed me. It's changed me, yeah. It's changed me in terms of audition processes. It's changed me. I've learned so much in being on screen, and doing obviously Aftersun in a different country. It was a different team. Not everyone kind of spoke the same language. There was kind of some barriers, but everyone was there for a certain reason, and it's changed me in the way that it's made me more driven. To be able to see that a film we done, for example, 2 years ago, is now coming to a light is amazing. And yeah, it's weird talking about it, because it was 2 years ago, but now is now. And looking back at the whole process from when it started, from the audition process to the end product, and it's still going. The end product isn't finished yet. See what I'm saying? The awards are coming. Everything is now coming.
And it's one of these films that's going to have an afterlife as well, but even beyond this year and the awards. I can imagine people are going to be talking about it for years to come, and, you know, looking back on it incredibly kind of highly. It's going to be interesting to see this film's kind of journey in even the decades to come.
It's definitely going to be a classic. I think we can all agree to that. I think so many people that are kind of from that era, it resonates with them, because that was them as when they're younger. And I don't think there's many films out there that do that.
And I was chatting about it. I think it was with Kayleigh, actually, where it's like you watched that, and I watched that as a kid of the 90s going, I wonder what my parents were thinking or going through that. And then maybe if my parents watched Aftersun, what they'd be thinking about what it was like to be sort of maybe that younger kind of years of their life and having kids and family, what they were going through and thinking. And, you know, it gives you a different light when you kind of think about the people that you love and the people around you as well, which is rare for a film to hit so many of those kind of experiences, I think, for people.
No, I 100% agree. I also think that every single person's got a different feeling or emotion after watching it. I mean, if you have a look on social media, everyone says something different. And I think when kind of me and my partner's family watched it, everyone took something different. Every single person took a different part of it that resonated with them, that touched them, and also brought back memories. The costumes, the settings, the retro games that Brooklyn and Frankie played. So yeah.
And what does like having a film like Aftersun in your kind of career at this stage mean for like the future? You know, something you can have on your IMDb, even just the fact it's on like a movie, for example. It's like, oh yeah, I've been in this film. You can easily access and see the scenes that I've done and my role and so on. What's it been like to get that early kind of success on the board?
It don't come around often. It's a simple way of putting it. It's one of the hardest industries, and I think everyone knows that. And to be able to say that I am 19 years old, going on 20 next month, and I have been in a film that has been nominated for an Oscar is unbelievable. And kind of the kind of massive hype around it as well. That is on my Spotlight profile, IMBD, and I think it's such a selling point as technically as an actor. Obviously, you are your own business, and to be able to, because so many people have watched it, and to be able to say that I was in that, I was actually in that film, it increases everything. The chances, the auditions, everything.
Obviously, we mentioned Mubi released it in the UK and it was A24 in America. What was it like to have worked on like an A24 film? And it's one that's obviously produced by someone like Barry Jenkins as well. Is that another sort of like tick in the box that you've achieved that as well?
It's proud. It's those obviously 3 to 4 years after finished college, and then completing the acting, and then doing the film. It's you sometimes have to take a step back, and there's so many times during the whole process that I took a step back and I was like, wow, this is A24 films here, and they're distributing it. And Barry Jenkins, for example, Moonlight is humongous. He is huge in this field of work. And to be able to be under that and to be part of the whole process, you have to take a step back and realize this is real. This is real.
And in terms of kind of like A24 films, are there any sort of highlights that you've got?
Oh, now you're asking. They've got a lot of films as well for the Oscars, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. I think was it Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Whale, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and Close. So yeah, like an Aftersun. So they've got five. Yeah, big one for them.
Definitely, yeah, it's definitely a humongous win for them. I mean, The Whale. I mean, for example, if you haven't even watched the trailer, all the films that they're producing and distributing, they're all unbelievable. And this is why they have obviously picked up Aftersun, because they've seen the potential. And that's what's so good about it.
And what's kind of coming next for yourself, and where's the kind of the best place to keep up to date with what's on the horizon?
So for me, I'm driving. I'm hungry. I'm hungry for those roles. Getting my name out there, doing the auditions. And next thing for me is I've got something lined up in February. My fingers are crossed. Can't say too much. We are still waiting for the final outcome of it. But that is my next project. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, touch wood. And yeah, I mean to kind of keep in contact. Like I always post my acting jobs. For example, when I'm when I'm away doing something, I'm always on there. So yeah, in Instagram, Twitter, either kind of one of them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your kind of your journey for these past 2 years. I've really appreciated kind of hearing your stories and insight, Ethan, and I'm crossing my fingers for that project in February.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me more than anything.